Namo Tassam Bhagavato Arahato Sama Sambuddhassa. Namo Tassam Bhagavato Arahato Sama Sambuddhassa. Namo Tassam Bhagavato Arahato Sama Sambuddhassa. So last week we studied a lesson called Fleeting Flowers. It based on the chanting verses that we offer to the Buddha, the flower, and we offer with all of our heart. But when we look at the flower will be wither and fade away, just like our body will be aged and pass away. So we offer to the Buddha, and also we have the object for our reflecting meditation and remind us to save our time for the better for our life. So that is the last week lesson. So today lesson also based on a story of one of my my student in Vietnam. She told me that somehow that before she got sick and go to the hospital, her husband just buy an insurance for her just short time before she go to the hospital. And after that, her husband bought another insurance for his employee. They have a company, and just before they buy insurance just for a short time, then his employee gets hospitalized. So somehow she feel like it's lucky for her life. And one story happened in our temple. The beginning of this last week, it's really hot outside, but we have to go and walk outside, and we do the lotus pond. But really hot outside, and when he got inside, so the shock of the heat, and he passed out. When he passed out, he fell out on the dishwasher, and it broken. But luckily for himself, he doesn't feel any pain and nothing injured with his head. Because normally when you pass out, your head would be knocked on the floor, and then many things could happen. So luckily he didn't get anything. So based on these two stories, I have today lesson Puñña for life to bloom. So first we talk about the word Puñña. It is the Pali word. It can be translated as merit or meritoriousness. So it is to do the wholesome act, and it is called the good behavior, and it will produce accumulation. It means that it will yield the result in the future. Or it is the cleanse yourself and to make yourself tranquil. So it is the punya or merit or meritorious deed. So it helps us a lot for our life. When we come to this world, when we were born as a human being, this world, there is something already happened we cannot change. Like we born in this kind of body, like in our family, like that, we cannot choose because it's the consequence of the past karma that help us, that bring us here as a human being in this area or in this family, like that. But after that, how we live our life, it will affect by the action we did. There are two kind of karma. We call it is the counteractive karma and supportive karma, and it can be affected by punya. So how it is? First, we talk about the supportive karma. It can be both wholesome and unwholesome. So when you do the wholesome deed, when you were born in a good destination, like in the human world or in the celestial world, the Deva world, So the wholesome deed you did in the past, it can help it can help to bring more consequence in the good destination in the human world, or in the celestial world, and it have a chance to do more wholesome deed, and then you can stay in the good destination after this life for a long time. On the other hand, subtlety karma can be considered as the unwholesome one. So when the person who was born in a bad destination, like in hell or in the animal world, the unwholesome deed they did, they will have a chance to do it more, and then they continue to stay in the area of the bad destination this life after another life. Then sometimes it's really a long time. So that is the supportive karma. So on the other hand, the counteractive karma is the kind of karma that oppress, that crush the happiness or the suffering which has been produced by the rebirth karma. For example, when the when the wholesome karma have a chance to yield the result, but there are bad karma, the unwholesome karma come and counteract to that karma and oppress, then no consequence can come out. So on the other hand, when the wholesome karma, unwholesome karma have a chance to give the result, but there are the unwholesome karma come and attack and counteract on that, and it oppress the result. It cannot bear the result. So just like a tree or a plant, is growing up, but someone cut it off or destroy it by a stick, or by a knife, and it cannot grow normally anymore. So it is the supportive karma and the counteractive karma. It gives the condition to support that the consequence to the karma yield the consequence, or it will oppress the karma not to yield consequence. There is 16 cases that the Vibhanga also mentioned. Some evil action already performed, it prevented by the fortunate rebirth and do not yield the consequence. Some evil action already performed, prevented by the fortunate body and do not yield the consequence. Some evil action already performed, prevented by fortunate time and cannot yield the consequence. And some evil action already performed, prevented by fortunate effort or action, do not yield the consequence. How to understand that? Fortunate rebirth refer to the rebirth in the human realm or in the Deva realm. So some evil action you did in the past, it should be yield the consequence in this life, but it be prevented by your rebirth, your fortunate rebirth, and it cannot yield the consequence. For example, you after this life you was born in the Deva world, and in the Deva world there are less suffering, and some kind of evil action you did in the past that should yield the consequence at that time. And because you was born in a Deva world, it doesn't have a chance to give consequence. So that is what we're talking about. Sometimes you have the fortunate body, means you are strong, you are healthy, and evil action, it yields the consequence that you should be sick or you have less longevity. You cannot live too long. But you was born in a strong body, healthy body, so it not much effect. It's not much effect. And some evil action prevented by the fortunate time. Fortunate times, for example, you was born in the peaceful time, or you was born among a peaceful person. So the evil action, it yield the consequence, but it cannot give the much consequence like it should be. And some evil action prevented by fortunate effort or practice or behavior, so it cannot yield to consequence. Like you do something good, and that good action prevented backward. But some evil action, it related to the unfortunate rebirth, and it can yield more consequence. That's just like we said, you was born in the beta world or in animal world, and it have more chance to evil action to yield the consequence in such unfortunate rebirth. And you was born with the sick, with the weak body, and the bad evil action can yield the consequence for make you more sick and make you more weak and die very soon. And sometimes you was born in the wartime, in the unfortunate time, in the wartime, or in the bad government, and all of the bad consequence, it have a chance to arise at that time. And sometimes you was born, you do evil deed, you not practice well, not good behavior, you bad behavior, and you practice the unwholesome deed, and it have more chance to the evil consequence is come out. On the other hand, if we was born, if we the good action, it can be prevented by the unfortunate birth. The good action, it can be prevented by the unfortunate body. It can be prevented by the unfortunate time, and it can be prevented by the unfortunate behavior. And it can be support to yield the consequence if it is the fortunate rebirth, if it is fortunate body, fortunate time, and fortunate behavior. So when we study about 16 cases like that, there anything arise in you that what should we do for our life? So if we want to prevent the unwholesome karma, the bad action we did in the past, due to result in this life, so we should do more and more the good karma, wholesome karma. It somehow can prevent little by little. Yeah, better than nothing, right? We don't know that when will the bad result will come out for us in this life. We don't have the wisdom like the Buddha. We know ahead. So the more we do the punya, wholesome deed, it will help us to prevent the bad consequence to come out, and it also support the good consequence to come out to help us. So in the Milinda Panha, the king Milinda asked the Venerable Nagasena that, Venerable Nagasena, you said that even though a man should live 100 years as in the evil life, so whole his life evil, unwholesome, but at least at the moment of death, there's a thought of the Buddha quality. I mean, he have the confidence in the Buddha and reflecting the Buddha quality, and the wholesomeness, little wholesomeness arise in him at that very moment, and that can help him to reborn among the Deva. It is sounds so difficult to understand, difficult to believe. And Venerable Nagasena, you also said that because of the killing, destruction of life, so a person can be reborn in hell, even he did just one time. It cannot be believed. It's difficult to believe. So Venerable Nagasena said that, King, do you see there's a tiny toe, even a tiny stone, it can float on the water or it sink down? Sure, the stone will sink down, even if it's small or big. But if there's 100 cartload of stone but put on the boat, so it will float. So in the same way, the wholesome deed, it have the powers like a ship, like a boat. It will help you to not to let the stone sink down. So in the same way, if at least we do the wholesome deed, it will help us much in our life. It will prevent the change for the unwholesome karma to yield result, and it will support the wholesome karma to yield results for our life to be better, to be blossom, to be bloom. There's a story of a venerable called Tisaranagamaniya written in the Apadana. So in the time of the Anomadasi, the Buddha Anomadasi is his previous Buddha. He's from his time to our Buddha is there are 17 Buddhas in between. So you can imagine it's really long time. From our Buddha passed away now until now is like more than 2,500 years, but not finished yet. So it's 17 Buddha mean really long time. So at that time, he was a person who a man who take care of his blind parents in a city called Chandawati. He have confidence in the Buddha teaching, but he doesn't have a chance because he have his duty to take care of his parents. So he cannot become a monk, but he still want to be free from suffering. That's why he go to the Venerable Nisaba, the chief disciple of the Buddha at that time, and listen to the Dhamma talk and request to take the refuge and taking the precepts. And for whole his life, at that time, the human being, they live for 100,000 years, and for whole his life, he tried to maintain the refuge and precept really well for whole his life. And at the deathbed, the last breath of his life, he remember what he did in his whole his life with the wholesomeness that he keep the precepts and the refuge for whole his life. That he really happy with that wholesome mind. He reborn in the Deva world, in the celestial world, Tavatingsa heaven. And in the Tavatingsa heaven, he have a special thing than others, the celestial beings, that he be honored, that he have piercing wisdom, that all the devas submitted to him. He have immeasurable possession. He have golden skin. He beloved by everyone. He's steadfast for his friend. He have great glory among the deva. And he mentioned that 80 existent as a king of deva, 75 existent as the universal monarch. Universal monarch, I use the picture here with the chakra, with the wheel behind him, because there's a story of the universal monarch that wherever he go, he will range that area with according to the Dhamma, peaceful, not by war. Wherever he go, the people will come and pay respect to him, and he reign over that with the Dhamma, with the righteousness. So 75 existent as the universal monarch. And at his last life, he was born in a rich family in Savatthi city during the Buddha time. He was a 7 years old boy, and he come with his friend to the temple, for fun. The kid went to the temple for fun, but when he came to the temple, he listened to the Dhamma talk, and he feel really happy and took the refuge. And at that very moment when he took the refuge, he remembered his past life, that long time ago he used to be a man and taking refuge and keep the refuge for whole his life like that. So he really happy. And at that moment, he realized the truth and become an arahant. So, and later he become a monk called Tisarana Gamaniya. Tisarana means the triple gem, and Gamaniya means going to take refuge in the triple gem. So from his story, we can see that even just a small thing like taking refuge and try to maintain for his whole life, at that very moment of the deathbed, he can remember that wholesome deed, and it helped him to be reborn in the celestial world. And this is his quote: "Since I went to the Buddha for refuge uncountable years ago, I have come to know no bad rebirth. This is the fruit of taking refuge." So he never fall down into woeful rain, only in the Deva words as the Deva king or as a universal monarch. And at very last birth, he was born in the time of our Buddha. He come to the temple, listen to the talk, take refuge again, and remind all of his wholesome deed and become an arahant. Sounds really easy, right? Yeah. So that's why if we have a chance to do the punya, the wholesome deed, we should try hard to do, even it's a small one. And it can help us to have the fortunate life. Yeah, our life in our hand, not on other hand. And it can prevent the unwholesome karma that can yield result in this life, prevent some from unfortunate consequence it can come for us. So that is my sharing today. Punya for life to bloom. Thank you for your listening.
Okay, we have a lot of time for discussion, so make sure you have questions. So based on today's lesson, that for those who already make the commitment to take refuge in the triple gem, and congratulations. And I think that's the right thing to do. And I'm happy you volunteered to do it without being asked. Because you practice the teaching of the Buddha is great already, but not as great if you also take the refuge, because it reminds you that now that you are Buddhist, the disciple of the Buddha, so you are more consistent, persistent, and to do it rather than on and off. Some of the practitioners, they're not really committed. They on and off, and then when you off, you do something else. That's how you get yourself in trouble when you do unwholesome or wrong view. So that's a good thing that we make a commitment and we just head on in one direction. And if you walk on the right path, whether fast or slow, you eventually reach to the destination. But if you sidetrack or something, it takes longer. Okay, so I think you take refuge in the triple gem is mostly encouraged. I'm happy that you already did. Come back to making the punya. The punya is very important, and we Buddhists believe that that's the only thing that assists us, help us, support us through life. Because in life, you often hear people say, "Oh, he's lucky, he's fortunate, he's this and that." All of it is all about the punya, and the result of it is from the wholesome deed. Hardly anyone there to help you when you're in distress, but the punya is there. So as any time when you have the chance, try to cultivate, try to make punya as much as possible. And the punya is the result of wholesome deed, a mature deed. The thing we call kusala in Bali term. So don't ever think that you have too much punya, because we don't know. We don't really know that we have too much. We know we have little. When bad thing happen, we know that we don't have enough punya. That's why the bad consequence catch up on us. So if you have more punya, the bad consequence cannot catch up on it, because the good consequence already dominate. So it's kind of way suppress the bad consequence. If you don't have enough punya, the bad consequence will dominate, and then that's how you get bad thing happen. Like today, he mentioned about my mishap that I passed out and I fell on the door of the dishwasher, not on the dishwasher. The dishwasher was in the wall, in the counter. Actually, here at the temple, when we don't wash the dish every day, using the dishwashing machine, we wash one or twice, a week, and then we open the door and then we put all the dish on the rack and let it air dry out. So because the door was out in the way, when I got dizzy, I felt on the door. So in a way, it support, my fall. So I didn't get, like my head would be hit the floor and get a concussion. I could have a concussion when I fall down, but I didn't. After I fell down, then I woke up and I felt, oh, why am I, I'm right here. I was on the door, so I didn't feel hurt. I didn't feel anything. I feel very refreshed. In fact, I feel like I just got up from a good sleep. So in a way, that I consider that the punya that support me from falling flat on the floor, and I could get a concussion and think bad thing could happen, right? So that consider a punya that helped me out in that situation. Thing could get worse, but it didn't. So that's in consider punya. And I guess because we take care of the temple, doing thing outside, that's wholesome deed, and because of that, we also get help. And he mentioned about when we born in the bad situation, like in the bad environment, chances are we can commit unwholesome deed more than wholesome because of the thing that we are lacking. Like, for example, you born in the family that you hungry all the time, starving, not enough food, or in the area, and because you need food, because of the craving, and if you don't know the teaching of the Buddha, you don't know the cause and effect, you would go out, steal or lie or do a lot of unwholesome, and that in turn yield the bad consequence and make things worse. So the punya help us to be away from that situation, and then we in the good environment, we tend to do good thing. If we know the teaching right, we do the good thing. Or even you don't know the teaching, but you're in the good situation, the unwholesome that you tend not to do it. Like, for example, if you have enough food or abundant with food, then you don't have the urge to steal food or steal from other things. But if you know the teaching of the Buddha, you do better by doing generosity, helping, and in turn it lead to more more benefit from the benefit you have already, and then you know how to use it wisely. It produces more of it. So in a way that the punya will help generate more punya. The less punya help you to generate less punya. So that's how it works that way naturally. Yeah. But if you know the teaching of the Buddha, even though you're in the bad environment, you try to restrain it. Like saying you're hungry, you need food. You don't want to steal, you don't want to commit unwholesome. You could ask for food. You could do something to earn the food or something like that. So in a way, if you will elevate out of it. So that's if you know the teaching of the Buddha, the right and the wrong, the morality. But more likely, because the nature of greed, anger, and delusion, it leads you to do unwholesome. And unwholesome, the bad consequence, you sink yourself in deeper. So that way, the punya help us out. He mentioned that we have no choice to be born in a family that we don't want, in a family that not high morality, in a family that not not well off, thing like that. But when you're in that situation, you can make a difference. You can get yourself out of it by doing the right thing, right? So that's what we learn. But you have to have good guidance to point it out to get you out of it. If not, you're sinking deeper and deeper and deeper. Like being born an animal, they don't know any better. They just to survive. They do whatever it takes to survive. They could be very clever, very intelligent to survive, because that's how they can live on. Otherwise, they be be killed. So, but they don't know any better. They just have to fight to do it, and then because of the fighting, the anger, they get themselves more wholesome and sink deeper. You can't blame, oh, he's an animal, he didn't know any better. Yeah, so he's an animal, and that's very difficult for them to get out of the animal world. right? So you don't want to be in that. You don't want to fall into that situation. So human, you have the understanding, the morality, and you can get yourself out of it. Yeah. Do you have any questions or anything to add on? Mhm. Yeah. Mhm.
The consequences of your past life. Right. And so even if you're a very moral person in this life, there still might be consequences from past life. And so when bad things happen, that's why. Is that right?
Yes. Yes. You try to be a righteous person in this life. That's the result you'll in the future. And what you face now is the action that you committed in the past. But what you do right now, the wholesome deed, some of the wholesome deed bear the fruit in this very life too. It doesn't have to wait next life to see it. Because of that, it will help preventing the unwholesome consequence that would have been born in the present life. So we don't know. Depends on some of the action that the wholesome action that we do currently would help the the one that bear in the present life, or the unwholesome what we do good thing now, which bear the good consequence, the punya in the future, but the the bad action that we committed in the past had not yet bear. It will bear in the time that also the wholesome deed that you do. And if that's the case, the punya will prevent it or cut off the how's it called, the life of it. So there you go. So for whatever whatever it takes, try to do as much punya as possible. If it bear in this life, it could prevent the one that already the action committed in the past, or is also raised with the bad consequence in the future that we block it. So there you go. We don't want to surrender to our faith, or we call faith, that we born in a bad situation, bad family. We don't want to accept it. We want to do it. We want to make a difference. We want to make a difference. We want to get out of it. Like in our temple, we have our Dharma friend Mel. She also been telling me she born in a very bad family, bad situation, but she refused to accept it like that. So only her in her family, she fought out. She get out of it. She's become educated, very highly educated. She understands more about it. She doesn't want to keep on the trend as her siblings. So there you go. Your life is in your hand. You can make a difference. You don't want to surrender to your situation and say, "Oh, my family like that, and there's no way out." There's no such a thing. So she got out of it. She's highly educated, and she learned the teaching of the Buddha. She realized it. So she can make it. You can make a difference in your life. Yeah, yeah. Because our parents didn't know better, and they just follow into the same thing and the trend. That's how they learn from their parents, and that's how they behave. And then they have children, and children will learn from their behavior, and then on and on and on. The thing keep on going. But you need to break this cycle because it's suffering, right? Yeah. So there you go. Now we know. We try to get out of it. Yeah. So a lot of people complain that they do all the good thing. How come bad thing keep happening to them? A lot of people say that. But then again, you have to wait. And then also, how much you really do it? How good, do you really do it? You know what I mean? Like a lot of people help. We help other people. Seem like you help, but it's also count with the mind, the state of mind that you do at the time. A lot of people try to show off that they help a lot of people, but they do it with a bias mind, discriminated mind. They do it with arrogance and do all that. If all of that if get deducted from the punya that you're supposed to get fully. So you have to redefine the word good in what you do, because what seems to be good might not really be good. I see a lot of people do charity work, but behind the behind that, it's not really charity at all. It's a lot of trade off, a lot of show off, a lot of arrogance, and because of that, it defects the result. That's why you don't get a lot of the result. You don't get it full. So that we need to redefine good. But if you truly do good, then your life could be so much better if you look in it that way. Yeah. So, and then you have confidence in the law of cause and effect. But if not, then it needs some time. You need some time to bear the fruit. You have done so bad things, and then one day you try to do good thing, then you want good thing to happen. That's very, very hard to believe, right? It's just like the mention that the pepper, when you throw the pepper in the water, the density will sink the density of the pepper will sink all the way to the bottom. But if the pepper landed on a boat or a draft, then it will stay above the water, because the draft will protect it or hold it. The same way, if you have a lot of punya and you commit some unwholesome act, the result is minimal. It's insignificant. Whereas, on the other hand, you did a lot of bad things, and then you realize, oh, you did a lot of bad thing on your life, and then you try to do some good thing, and then you expect like, oh, my life is saved from all the bad thing that happened. That's no such thing, because all the bad thing that you have done, it bears so much, and the little punya that you have cannot sustain it for you. So you have to look into it as well. Okay.
Like you have exactly much on this side, did you have a little on this side? It's not going to,
yeah. And also on the, let's say the draft, it's also depend on its capacity too. A draft can only hold maybe 50 kilo of the weight. What if like a ton of it landed on the draft gonna sink too, right? The boat or whatever that float on the water. So you got to look at it. You got to see, the consequence, how severe it is to be able to be saved from all the bad consequence. So don't expect too much. Just do as much as you can, and then things would be better. Yeah, exactly.
a very moral person, we don't know how much.
Yeah, but one thing for sure, because the power of greed, anger, and delusion, you did a lot of things. And now we know the teachings of the Buddha, you kind of hold back. You are starting over again. And imagine, in all the bad things, it didn't go away. Eventually, it bear the fruit. That's why we face a lot of mishap. So whenever we don't know the teaching of the Buddha, the greed and the anger and the delusion, it drives you to do a lot of things. That's why, we don't have a good, that's why we have so much suffering in our life. If we know earlier, then we won't face so much suffering. But if you face so much suffering, that means that, you allow the greed, anger, delusion take control of your life. That's the benefit of fruit. That's when we suffer. So now we know better. Now we have to start over. We need to restrain ourselves so that in the future we be less suffering. Yeah. On the first slide, can you go back to the first slide? I don't know why not everyone, all of a sudden we're going to drop out. For the past few weeks, we don't have as many as we had before. So, yeah, there you go. The supportive and the counteract. It works both ways, wholesome and wholesome. If you live in a good environment, like in the heaven world, the life in material wise, the life up there very luxury, very abundant. That when we live up there, the unwholesome consequence in terms of the material, it won't have the chance to bear the fruit up there, because you live well up there. You don't have the urge to steal for food, for clothes, or things like that. So in a way, you better, it won't have the chance to bear the fruit, right? But the mental part can bear the fruit if you act, unwholesomely. Let's say that celestial being, heaven being, they still have greed, anger, delusion. If they get jealous, they get vicious, they get very mean, they could do harm things to other people, they still have to, pay the price. One time, we, in the story, in the Dhammapada story, one of the celestial beings tried to play with the two monks. He tried to sabotage the two monks because the two monks are so close together, respect, and always like a great companion. So this Deva, he thought that, oh, they are so inseparable. So let me try to see if I can separate them by creating the scene for the other to misunderstand. And because of that, they get, not happy with each other. And so they went separate way. Because of the because of the bad action, the devil fell all the way down the hell. there's no layover. He go from a heaven realm all the way to hell. See, so material wise, you're okay, but mental, the spiritual part, you could actually commit a lot of unwholesome if you don't know how to manage your mind. Okay, so
that are powerful, that they're greedy and they break the law, they do bad things,
right.
Even though they don't need to because they have everything.
Exactly, because of the greed, they want to be richer, they want to do this and all that, or because of the arrogance that got them so in trouble. Sometimes they did a lot of bad things, and it seemed like they immune to it, but the consequence had not caught up to them yet. You cannot get away with it. The law of cause and effect is very justified. Yeah, nobody intervene. It's just how it is. It's the nature of it. It's just the time, and the longer it takes, the severe, the higher the severity. So don't ever think you're immune to it because you have the power, right? Yeah. So just let it be. They do whatever, they will face the consequence. Right? Yeah. Maybe if we step in, then we might take part of it, partake of it. So why would you want to do it yourself, right? Yeah. So in the heaven world, the material wise, you're better off. You don't have to, the bad consequence doesn't have the chance to bear the fruit. But if you don't control your greed, anger, delusion, yeah, mentally it will. Yeah. So he mentioned that because of the past consequence in the past, that it should bear at that time, but you're already in heaven world, so it has no way to catch up on you. So that thing expired, and then you off. You're okay with that. But on the other hand, if you're in the human realm, and you're supposed to have this good, you should have this punya reserved for this punya, but the capacity at that time you don't have. So in a way that thing doesn't have the chance to bear the fruit, so that you miss your chance on that one as well. Yeah. He mentioned that like strong, you're supposed to have a good health in that time, but then your body weak, so you cannot sustain it. Yeah. Mm.
But that becomes like a characteristic of your consciousness. So would that make it more likely that in the next life you would want to do good? Is that right?
Yes. Of these characters in you, right? And that's also condition for you to continue to do good thing until something happen that influence you, and then you start to lose it. Then you lose it and lose it, and you completely lost it. All that. So here is we practice, we cultivate this good quality of mind, and that's also conditioned to do better and better and better. Yeah, we build up this characteristic. That's what we refine this characteristic like that. Okay, and when you take new rebirth, the rebirth in your consciousness, your chitta will also come, in the next life. Yeah, it's not like one of those things that you build up this punya and then you store it somewhere. It's not like digital thing that you store somewhere and then just kind of carry it on to the next life and next life. There is no place to store it, but all in the characteristic, the lakkhana, that characteristic that you build up, the wisdom and all that. So you refined it. Yeah. Yeah. Other teaching wrong. They're saying that there's such a thing called the repertoire. The storage that you keep in your mind, and like that would be like permanent. That if you have it, then it will defeat the concept, the theory of impermanence, right? Because the Buddha taught us that nothing is like permanent. So if you have storage, I mean that it has to be permanent, right? For you to carry on until the day you attend Nibbana. But there's no such thing. It rise and fall, right? So whatever rise and fall, it still has the characteristic in that in you.
Yeah, in Buddhism, we all talk about the condition. If we do something right now, it will have the condition for other things to arise. Even it's good or a bad thing.
Yeah. The if you do good thing, the momentum, the characteristic of it that help you to do it again and again until something happened, and then you change it. You change the state of mind. You change it for the worse, not better. Then you just go worse and worse. Or at the same time you stop and then start the new trend. Okay. If we have any more questions, we can finish early today.